Welcome, all my fellow Redskin brethren and sistren. It's news that's nightly about the Redskins. Welcome to the Redskins Nightly News. I, of course, am your set man, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. So, obviously, yesterday was an exhilarating game. I talked about it on the R3. I also had a quick video as I was on my way back from Ohio, and I was able to watch the game in the vehicle. And it was a lot of fun to watch. I came back home, watched it again. It was such a fun game. Still, a lot of improvements must be made, and I've talked about that. Talked about it on the R3. We're going to talk about a little bit more of that today. But there is growth that we're seeing throughout these final games of the season, and that's what we were looking for as fans. Look, we may have a totally new offensive scheme. We may have a all-new offense, brand new play caller. All of these things may change next year, so there may not be the type of carryover that we're looking for in terms of growth within a system per se. We don't know what the future holds for this organization in terms of its staff. However, when you look at the growth of these players playing on the field versus other NFL players, you're starting to see why these guys can be building blocks for this football team and the offense moving forward. And I'm really excited, and I know some of you are as well, reading through some of the comments yesterday after the game. Again, you hate that these are resulting in losses, and I'm torn because as excited as I was about the performance, it still yielded a loss. And while I was excited about the loss because of the particular circumstances that we're in, because I hate losing, period. However, I understand that the short term winning doesn't benefit us long term, and so I understand the dynamic that exists. Now, there's so much to get to, so I don't want to talk about a lot of different things. I want to kind of narrow my focus now. We can kind of go all over the place when we get to in other news, but let's talk about this game and why we felt like this was such a good performance by the Redskins, although it resulted in a loss. So, obviously, I want to start on the offensive side of football because that's where I thought the Redskins did their best work in this football game. And you start up front. I talked about Wes Martin yesterday and how impressive he was in this game. He did have the one holding penalty, but outside of that, I thought he was phenomenal in this football game. And it makes you think, will the Redskins take a look at this game? And sounds like Brandon Sheriff may not be back the remainder of the season. I listened to Bill Callahan talk today, and he's talking about, Brandon seeing a specialist and for his shoulder and his hand and all the kinds of different things. And so we're going to find out if this guy can even come back this season. And with the way Wes Martin played this game, if he's able to finish out the final two games of the season, let's just say the Redskins decide to put Brandon Sheriff on IR. That would be the second consecutive season Sheriff has finished the season on IR. Either way, if they decide to go in that direction and Wes Martin plays well in these final two games of the season, and let's say the Cowboys need week 17, and they play their starters, and he plays well against them as well, that's a really positive sign and maybe a sign that the Redskins could go in a different direction with Brandon Sheriff this offseason. Who's to say? Obviously, we want Eric Flowers back, and if Wes Martin can do the job at right guard, you could really come out a lot cheaper on the back end if you just go with the guys that could potentially finish up the season along the offensive line. Now, I still think you need an answer at left tackle, but thought that Wes Martin showed well in the football game. You look at the skill position players. I went back and watched, and I know I mentioned him yesterday, but I think it bears mentioning again. Josh Ferguson was really impressive yesterday. I don't know about you, but the few carries and touches that he had, I was impressed. I saw a burst. I saw a guy that was decisive, and he looks like he has a little bit of juice to him, a little bit of wiggle. There's something there. I'd really like to see what else he brings to the table because next year, most likely there will be no more Chris Thompson. You're going to be looking at a backfield that features Bryce Love, Darius Geis, maybe Adrian Peterson, but that fourth back could potentially be Josh Ferguson. And we've seen the injury history of Geis, and we don't know what we're going to get out of Bryce Love. We're probably going to need another guy. If Ferguson can pass protect, and we really don't know that to be the case right now, but if he can pass protect, we could have something in Josh Ferguson. I'm just saying I want to see more. I'm intrigued after seeing him in yesterday's game. You look at Adrian Peterson, man, is he still good? I mean, the moves, the reversing of the field and scoring a touchdown. He's still phenomenal. And what I've been most impressed with this season is his ability to catch it out of the backfield. He's actually caught the football very well and gotten yards after the catch. That's not something that I thought we were getting when we signed Adrian Peterson 2 years ago. Didn't think we were getting a back that was, or last year, that was going to catch the football out of the backfield and be a prominent figure in the receiving game. But he's been that for us and then some, and he continues to be phenomenal. Can't state enough how consistent he's been for us throughout the last 2 seasons. You look at the receivers, I thought it was a tremendous game for Terry McLaurin. I want him to get to 1,000 yards so bad. I can taste it. He's getting closer. That was a massive game for him. 5 catches, $130 and a touch. We need more of those from him down the stretch. He's already surpassed 800 yards receiving on the season, so he's close. 2 more performances like the one he turned in on Sunday, and he will definitely eclipse 1,000 yards receiving, and I want it so badly for him because he deserves it. But he was tremendous, and he made more contested catches. He made plays, had the big 75-yard catch and run. He's such a dynamic playmaker. We found ourselves our number 1 wide receiver. There's no doubt in my mind what this guy is. He's a legit number 1 in this league. Now he needs a tag team partner. And I'm not saying that Kelvin Harmon isn't that guy or Steven Sims, but Sims is a solid slot option, even though there were some drops and some mistakes yesterday. We'll get to him in a second. But I think Kelvin Harmon could be a great third option. We need that number 2 wide receiver, that complementary piece to Terry McLaurin. Hell, he could be 1A, 1B. As far as I'm concerned, whatever the case may be, we just need a Robin to Terry's Batman right now. And if we can find that guy, I think we may have something in the receiver game. But Steven Sims, I thought he had a really good game. He's continuing to grow every single week. Really impressed with his ability with the football in his hands, period. Whether it's special teams, I thought he was dynamic on kickoffs yesterday. Had like 3 really good returns, set us up in some great field position. How about us not getting penalties, blocks in the back, holding, that sort of thing? That was great to see. I was expecting 1 of these, 2 of these to be called back due to blocking the back or holding, and we didn't have that, so that was fun to see as well. But his ability to separate and to make things happen after the catch is dynamic, but he's got to know when to get up the field and get the first down. That was a critical mistake by him going backwards on that 3rd down catch when the Redskins had a chance, tied at 24, to possess the football and kick a walk-off field goal. You get that first down, no telling if the Redskins are able to grind out the clock and win this football game. I'll just say this, and he had some other drops in the game too, and I thought Dwayne missed him, and we'll get to Dwayne. I'll save that for Dwayne, but if this were a game, if the Redskins came into this game at 5-8 with a chance, an outside shot of still making the postseason, I would have been pissed off at Steven Sims after this game because there were some opportunities that I felt like he left on the football field in this game. And he's a young receiver, so I wouldn't have killed him, but I would have been really disappointed. And I sort of still am, but under the pretense that we're in right now with the draft pick and how we kind of don't want to win. I know a lot of you still want to win, and I'm not upset at you if you want to win. I totally get it. But under the pretense that we're in right now, it was okay. I was able to swallow that and be okay. But when I went back and watched again, it hit a nerve. But I like the fact that it's happening now. Sort of like we said with Dwayne before the season started. Hey, let him play because we want the mistakes to happen when they don't mean anything because we're losing ball games and we're not going to be very good anyway. That's why it was important for Dwayne to play this season because we knew this was going to be a lost season. We knew coming into the year, some of you were delusional and thought this was a 10-win team. I don't know where you got that from. I don't know why you thought this team was capable of that. But I said, this is going to be a year where we stink. And I said that, and you guys, some of you got hurt by me predicting 5-11, 6-10 before the season started. I think I even got as high as 7-9. But I said, this is a 6-10, 5-11 type of ball club. Well, I was wrong. We're more of a 33-13, 4-12 ball club. But whatever the case may be, we needed Dwayne to play so he can make these mistakes now so that when we actually feel like we have a shot next year with a clean slate, he's not making the same mistakes that he should have been making this season. Same thing with Steven Sims. He's finally getting a chance with the injury to Trey Quinn to play and play consistently. And so he'll know for the future because of the mistake. Because Donald Penn, I went back and watched, Donald Penn ran up on him as he made that mistake and said, come on, dude, you got to get the first down there. And Sims realized in the moment. And then Adrian Peterson went over to him on the sidelines, told him the same thing. A hell of a play, man. But on that situation, you got to know when to get up the field and get the first down. So he knows. And the coaching staff, they're going to reiterate that to him. Look, we love the fact that you made that first guy miss because you had to. But that second guy, it wasn't about making him miss too and trying to go for the home run. It was about making that first guy miss because that was out of necessity. You don't make him miss, there's no chance of getting the first down. After making him miss, get up the field, get the first down. That second guy, you can't try to make him miss because if you don't, you're not going to get the first down. And so he knows that now. But there were some drops on the field that I thought he could have come down with that I'd like to see him catch moving forward. But all in all, I thought it was another strong performance by Steven Sims Jr. He continues to progress week after week. Really impressed with what he brings to the table. And I think he's a guy that's going to be a staple part of this offense moving forward. And then you get to Dwayne Haskins on the offensive side of the football. I thought it was his best game as a Redskin to date. I thought he looked confident. And remember what I've been saying every single week. How about we get Dwayne into a rhythm? How about we get Dwayne into a rhythm? How about we not run it on first and second down and then ask Dwayne to bail us out on 3rd and 8 or 3rd and 7? And they threw it on first down. There was a nice run-pass balance in terms of the play calling. And I thought this was also the best play calling we've seen from Kevin O'Connell as well. Well, we saw 2 option plays, both very successful. The second of which Dwayne bust off like a 23-yard run. So I like that wrinkle being intertwined into the offensive game plan. I thought that the quick passing game, this is what I asked for. I asked for the quick passing game early in ball games, slants, hitches, screens, those types of things to get Dwayne into the game. And they did that, and they got him into some good situations early in the set of downs where it was a quick completion for 5 yards, but now it's 2nd and 5. Now you can turn around and hand it to Adrian Peterson if you want, and if he only gets 2, it's 3rd and 3. You're in a manageable situation. And so I thought that the offense, and also what's good? Getting first downs on first down. Getting first downs on second down. Like, you don't have to wait till 3rd down to get a first down. And the Redskins continuously taking shots like McLaurin in the 3rd quarter, sitting down in zone coverage. I think it was 3rd quarter, might have been the 4th quarter when the Redskins went down the field and responded to an Eagles touchdown. And they went right down the field, first down, strike to McLaurin for 30 yards or so. Like, those are the types of plays you run on first down because they're expecting run. So I thought he got the ball out of his hands quickly. I thought he was very accurate on the day. I did think he missed 2 throws that stuck out to me. The first of which was the corner route right before the half to Steven Sims. Wide ass open. I talked about this yesterday on the R3, so I won't really get into the details of it, but it's a high-low concept, and it was perfectly run, perfect play call for the defense the Eagles were playing. Steven Sims was wide ass open. I'd like to think that if that's on the money, he might score on that play, to be honest with you, because literally there was only one defender over the top that was running with Terry on the corner route. His bench route was wide open. I'd like to think that if Steven catches that, either Terry's going to block that defender up the field or Steven's going to make him miss. Either way, I think that could have been a touchdown. He was that wide open. And Dwayne, I thought he kind of short-armed that one. Flat-footed throw, backing away. Not the kind of throw you want to see from him in that situation. And then on the miss, I don't even think it was a miss call on the PI. The one that Bill Callahan challenged. I honestly didn't think it was PI. There was a lot of hand fighting and toggling down the field between both players. I'd like to see Dwayne lead him on that. He had him beat. Avonte Maddox was beat on that play, and the underthrow by Dwayne allowed Avonte Maddox to get back into the play. So I thought that was a throw that if you ask Dwayne, he'd like to have that one back. Lead Steven Sims up the field, and I think he runs under that football, and it's a touchdown. So outside of those 2 throws, I thought Dwayne was outstanding in this game, and I would have loved to have seen Callahan go for it on that first fourth down of the game. You're 3-10, bro. Like, seriously, I didn't know it at the time, but punting wasn't going to help us in that game. I thought that it was going to be 20-18. You knew the score that I gave, 20-18. I think the Redskins, we scored 3 whole touchdowns, and that catch by Steven Sims. Let me not forget, that was a beautiful catch in the end zone. Way to get your feet down in the end zone. I thought Steven Sims had a strong game. Despite the mistake on 3rd down and a couple of drops, that catch, what a throw by Dwayne. I mean, man, was that a dart. I mean, a laser shot. I mean, that was a dime in the end zone. Really well played game by Dwayne Haskins using his legs. No sacks in the game. And some of that was him extending plays and avoiding sacks. And then the offensive line give them credit. And then also it was the balance of not being in 3rd and 8 and the defense knowing what's coming. It was the balance of throwing on 1st down, throwing on 2nd down, and having the Eagles on their heels. I thought it was a really well-executed game plan, well-called game. And all the way around, I thought the Redskins did some good things on offense. And so really, really impressed with what we saw offensively from the football team in this game. You get to the defense. I was really impressed with the defensive line. I thought Daron Payne had one of his stronger games of the season. They called him for what I thought was a bogus personal foul penalty. I thought he put his helmet into the shoulder of Carson Wentz on that play. I did not see the helmet-to-helmet contact. Maybe I'm being a little biased. I don't know. I didn't think either of our personal foul penalties were legit. I talked about that yesterday with the Ryan Anderson penalty. We'll get to him in a second. But Daron Payne had the almost near fumble where Wentz threw it forward, where it looked like a fumble initially. It was picked up by John Bostic. He fumbled, and the Eagles got it back, but it turned out to be a forward pass. That was all Daron Payne. Like, Daron Payne was impactful in this game. He was outstanding. Jonathan Allen had a tackle for loss. He was all over the football field as well. Really impressed with the way those guys played in this ball game. But to me, the guy that stood out amongst all the defenders honestly, there were 2 guys. I take that back. Danny Johnson, I talked about him yesterday, so I won't really talk too much about it, but Danny Johnson was outstanding yesterday. I thought Danny Johnson showed his ass yesterday, and for him to just be coming off of the IR, and for him to be just getting back into the swing of things, he played his ass off. He led the team in tackles yesterday. He was fearless. He had one knockaway on a 3rd down where he contacted the receiver out in the flats, knocked him down, dislodged the football. Danny Johnson played a whale of a ball game. And I get it. The Eagles have Greg Ward Jr. out there. I get it. They don't have their slew and full complement of wide receivers, but you can only play who they put in front of you. And I thought he was tremendous in the football game. But the guy that stood out the most was Ryan Anderson. And it's a guy that I've beat up. I want to be so wrong about Ryan Anderson. I really do. I hope he proves me wrong, because I've done nothing but talk cold, hard cash about this man since we drafted him. I did not like the draft pick. I still don't like the draft pick, but he has a chance to make me wrong, and I want him to so badly. He had 2 sacks. He had a forced fumble. He had 2 forced fumbles, 2 sacks. Let's see. He had 2 sacks, 2 forced fumbles. He had the contact to Wentz that I didn't think was a personal foul that would have brought up a 3rd and 22. He had a tackle for loss. He was all over the damn football field. To me, it was his finest hour as a Washington Redskin. I was so impressed with him. But then again, and I said this yesterday, I've been so impressed with Ryan Anderson this season. I've seen Ryan Anderson play at a level that I haven't seen since we drafted him. I haven't seen this from him. You got to go back to his Alabama days to see this kind of disruption, this kind of production from Ryan Anderson. He was tremendous in the football game, and I want to see more of that from him moving forward. That being said, the defense still gave up massive plays. I talked about the ineffectiveness on 3rd downs. I talked about the inability to get stops in the red zone. I talked about this defense giving it up on the ground, and I went back and watched. It wasn't 3rd and 7. That Miles Sanders draw was 3rd and 11. All right, I thought Landon Collins had one of his worst games of the season. He took poor angles. He was killed in the pass game. I talked about the receivers, the tight ends, because the Eagles had no receivers healthy. I said, we can't let the tight ends kill us. Well, the tight ends killed us. Goddard and Ertz combined for over 100 yards receiving on 9 catches in the game. Or 11. I think Ertz had 5 and Goddard might have had 6. Either way, it was over 100 yards. Goddard had the great one-hand stab on that final possession. They killed us at the tight end position, and Landon Collins got roasted a couple of times by Ertz, and so we didn't do a good enough job on the tight ends. It just pains me that we couldn't get off the field on 3rd downs, and there were times where the Eagles were waving a white flag. They had a 3rd and 4 run that popped for like 15. They had a 3rd and 11 run that went for like 55. Like, these things can't happen, yet they did. And that's why we're not a good football team right now. Just too many breakdowns in defensive coverages. You got Zach Ertz on a 3rd down, wide ass open. Like, let me guess, communication. Something we've been talking about all season long. Let me guess, Communication is why he was wide ass open. I mean, at some point, these things have to stop happening. They didn't in this game. You got to give Wentz some credit. He's a Redskin killer. That throw to Miles Sanders in the back of the end zone when he rolled out. I mean, what are you going to do there, man? I mean, seriously, what can you do there? Wentz did what he always does, which is torment the Redskins in this game. And simply, we weren't good enough on the defensive side of the football. But there were some guys that did stand out. But it was a fun game. I did not have a problem with the outcome. As a matter of fact, I was excited about the outcome. Had we been 5-8, I would have been disappointed in the outcome because this was a very winnable game. And I told you as such going into the game. Every single game we have down the stretch will be winnable. But I just don't think we're going to be good enough to win them. And hell, I think we should beat the Giants. I don't want to, but I think we should beat the Giants. We're a better team than the Giants, but we'll see what happens. Let's get to in other news. So, obviously, one of the biggest storylines of yesterday's game was Herb, as I like to call him, Urban Meyer, up in the press box with his ex-quarterback, Alex Smith, who he coached at Utah, and helped Alex Smith become the number 1 overall draft pick before his Florida days with Tim Tebow, before his Ohio State days with Dwayne Haskins and JT Barrett and company. He was at Utah running that offense with Alex Smith. And so he sat up there with Alex, conversed the entire game. Never really saw him with Daniel Snyder. There was never a shot of him with Bruce Allen or Daniel Snyder or any of those guys. So it makes a lot of sense that Terry McLaurin said, hey, he was my guest. I invited him to the game. And he was here for me, and then they went through the story of Urban Meyer always wanted to go to the Army-Navy game. That game is played in that DMV area. And so he was in the area for that game. So he had a reason to be in town. And so Terry said, hey, you're in town. Why don't you come to the game? And he did. So makes a lot of sense. I don't think there's anything to really go off about. Urban Meyer has already said, look, I don't want to coach. I don't believe him. I think he'll be back, but I told you I don't want him because of health reasons. He keeps retiring because of health reasons, and when you see him on the sidelines, I keep telling you, the man looks like he's about to pass out. In every close game, he looks like he's about to have a blood vessel burst in his neck or somewhere, and he's about to have a brain aneurysm or something. I'm not comfortable with having guys like that on the sidelines. And if you thought college football was stressful, what do you think the NFL is going to be? I'm good. If he wants to coach, let him go to Dallas. Knock yourself out. The Cowboys can have you. I'm good here. And I know some of you would love to have Herb here. And if he gets the job here, I wouldn't be against it. I'm just telling you, you're not going to get the amount of time that you want out of a coach. Like, I'm trying to hire a coach that's going to be here for the next 15 years. I'm not looking to hire a coach that's here as a stopgap. A guy that's going to be here for 3 years and then we're looking for another coach. Because everywhere Urban Meyer goes, he wins. But it's usually 4 or 5 years and then he's got to retire because of some kind of scandal or some kind of health issues. Either way, I'm good. I want a guy that can grow with Dwayne Haskins and be here for the next 15 years. That's what I'm looking for. That's the guy that I'm trying to hire. And I don't know if that guy's Urban Meyer or not. But that was a storyline coming out of the game. I don't think he's going to end up here. And I don't think you can connect any dots to why he was at the game other than what I'm taking Terry McLaurin for his word. I'm taking it at face value. He was here because Terry invited him here, and he was in town for the Army-Navy game, and that's that. And I never saw him with Daniel Snyder, not a single time in the press box. Every shot was of him and Alex Smith, so I'm leaving it as such. Anyway, you look at this game and the ramifications of the loss coupled with the Giants win, and I had a video yesterday pretty much talking about we're the number 2 pick in the draft. Not quite, but in my mind, we're the number 2 pick in the draft because before that game, and right now, the biggest problem for the Redskins schedule-wise is that we got the 49ers and the Giants had the Cardinals. They played the NFC West team that they played was the Arizona Cardinals. We played the San Francisco 49ers. There's a 7-game gap in terms of wins there that's going to make up for all the other teams that we play differently. And we only play 2 different teams. So that right there is the killer. And even though Tampa Bay is on their schedule and we had the Panthers and Tampa Bay surging, it's not going to be enough to close the gap that we have because we had San Francisco on our schedule and they had Arizona. So right now we sit with a stronger schedule. They have a weaker schedule because we have San Francisco on it. So that's fine. I don't care. That's why yesterday was so important because now it doesn't matter if we end up with the same record as the Giants because we're not going to. Either they're going to finish with a better record than us because they're going to beat us because I don't think either one of us are winning in week 17. I don't. They got the Eagles. We got the Cowboys. I'm hoping that both teams need that game. Now, obviously, if the Cowboys beat the Eagles in Philly next week, it changes the entire dynamic of that Week 17 matchup because the Cowboys will have won the division and neither team will be playing for anything. Then all bets are off. But if the Eagles take care of business, which I assume they will, both of those teams will need Week 17 because the division will be on the line at the time. And thus, I don't see either one of those teams, us or them, winning that final game. So in essence, whomever wins this game is getting their final win of the season. So in my mind, we've done what we needed to do. Now we're both at 3-11, and the winner of this game is going to finish with probably the third pick in the draft. The loser of this game, because let's face it, our division is so bad that no one else with 3 wins is going to compare to our strength of schedule. So we don't have to worry about the Dolphins with 3 wins or, any other team out there with 3 wins. We don't have to worry about anybody else that has 3 wins. The Lions have a tie, so that's not going to help affect us because their win percentage is going to be higher than us because they have a tie. We don't have to worry about anybody else. The Cardinals got their 4th win of the season, but they had a tie anyway. But again, the only other team that's a threat to us is the Giants because they play in the same division as us. Our division is so bad that strength of schedule-wise, nobody can touch us. So we don't have to worry about anybody else with 3 wins. We don't have to worry about any other teams with 4 wins. Our division is terrible. So we're good, strength of schedule-wise. But the Giants are the only team that pose a threat to us. So we need them to beat us next week. As bad as that sounds, and I hate losing to divisional teams. I do. Family business is business that I like to conduct on my terms. I'd like to win this game, but I know the ramifications. And yeah, Chase Young may be talking that shit now, but I think Chase Young is going to enter the NFL draft. I think he's going to enter the NFL draft when it's all said and done. I'd be very surprised if he goes back to school. Now, some guys love that college atmosphere and, maybe he's enjoying himself at Ohio State. It's a great experience if you're having fun. And he's having fun, but I find it hard to believe that a guy in his position, he's not going to get much higher than pick 2. Maybe next year he's the number 1 overall pick, but some desperate, needy team is always looking to draft a quarterback number 1. And there's going to be, in certain drafts where you see Jadeveon Clowney pick number 1 overall or Myles Garrett, there isn't a consensus number 1 quarterback. There's one this year. There's going to be one next year with Trevor Lawrence if he comes out, and I assume he's going to. If you're Myles Garrett, if you're Chase Young, you can't get much higher than 2, bruh. There won't be a situation where you're going to be high. And so why risk injury? Why leave money on the table? Next year you get hurt, blow out your knee. All of a sudden now you may still be a first round pick, but you're not going to be number 2 overall. Why put that pressure on you? Why be Tua Tagovailoa and put yourself in that position where you can come out, be the number 2 pick in the draft? And you know what I'm thinking? And this is just a hunch. I can't confirm nor deny this, but I think he's waiting to see who gets the number 2 pick in the draft. Because I think he knows he's going 2 overall. Whomever has that pick. And this could be a situation where he doesn't want to play for the Redskins. And so he's waiting to see if the Redskins get the number 2 pick in the draft. And he's like, if the Redskins get the number 2 pick in the draft, I'm going back to Ohio State. If the Giants get the number 2 pick in the draft, then I'll come out and I'll become eligible for the draft because I don't mind going to New York. Or it could be a situation vice versa where he's like, I don't want to go to New York. If I can go home and play for the Redskins, then I'll go home and I'll come into the draft. If the Redskins have the number 2 pick, if the Redskins don't have the number 2 pick, then I don't want to come out. So those are all things that could be going through his mind as well. We don't know the answers here. All right. All we know is that just like Tua threw this out about 2 weeks ago, I don't know if I'm going in the draft or not. I think both of those guys are going to ultimately go in the draft when it's all said and done, but we will see what happens. And then finally, Bill Callahan stepped to the mic yesterday. He stepped to the mic today. I kind of want to focus on what he said today. He was a little emotional yesterday. So today he talked about the offensive scheme and how they made it a point of emphasis to get the ball out of Dwayne's hands quickly because of the pressure that the Eagles front can provide. And so, look, to hell with what the Eagles do. Why not do that every week? I don't understand why it had to be because of the Eagles and what they do. I felt like the Redskins should have been getting Dwayne comfortable and throwing on first and second down more consistently anyway. But we talked about that, and that's why they had the success of throwing the football early because they wanted to make it a point of emphasis to make sure they got the ball out of Dwayne's hands quickly because of the pressure that the Eagles can apply up front. He talked about Wes Martin and how they've been playing him at center all season long and how the injury to Brandon Sheriff kind of forced them to move him back to guard, and he played really well. And so, he went through the whole spiel of how they kind of go into the game with the offensive line count and how they plan to use guys, and how generally you want your guard and centers to be able to be interchangeable. So if you can play guard, you can play center, because on game day you only have a certain amount of roster spots, and you want your guys up front to be versatile enough to be able to play multiple positions, and how Wes Martin really played well against the Eagles front. He talked about some of the other guys. Danny Johnson was a guy that stood out to me. He talked about him and his development in this particular game, and how Danny played really well in practice versus Terry McLaurin, and that showed them that he was ready for an opportunity like this, and he took full advantage, I thought. And I was really impressed with Danny Johnson in his football game. He looked like the Danny Johnson that we fell in love with last preseason, where we was like, man, it's going to be hard to cut a guy like Danny Johnson if he's going to play like that. I thought throughout the course of the regular season last year, Danny didn't look as comfortable. He got beat a ton. I thought Danny looked up for the challenge against the Eagles. And again, I get it. They don't have their full complement of wide receivers, so it made it a lot easier for him to stick with Greg Ward. You know what I mean? And J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. But at the end of the day, I thought he played his ass off, and Bill Callahan thought so as well. He talked about the game plan and how him and Kevin O'Connell kind of sat down and, banged out a game plan that they thought would really give us a chance in this game, and it did. They did a really good job of setting things up in this football game, including using the option play throughout the course of the game. So it was an impressive a day all the way around. I did not like the challenge. He talked about that. He said, look, I know they're not overturning these things, but I thought it was worth a shot. The play clock was running down. I don't think this even factored into it, but the play clock was running down. They were going to have to burn a timeout anyway. So he figured, why not just throw the red flag? He didn't say that. I'm thinking that, and that's how I rationalized it, because I didn't like the decision. Because he even said it himself, we know they're not really overturning. If you know that, then why the hell are you challenging it? It just didn't make any sense. In a game that we ultimately didn't need those timeouts. It's always nice to have them. You know how I feel about second half timeouts. They're like precious jewels. You must protect them with your life. And so in a game that ended up going down to the wire, I would have liked to have seen him hold on to those. But that's no here nor there. I'm not going to kill him over that. Bottom line is, the only thing that really frustrated me was the way the game ended. I hated the fact that they scored that touchdown. I said that yesterday. I'm going to reiterate it today. Hated the fact that they scored that last touchdown to make it look like this was a decisive Eagles win. It wasn't. This was a 4-point game, essentially, late. We were in this game. Should have won it, to be honest with you. And the fact that they end up winning by 10, it really kind of pisses me off. But that being said, hell of a game, hell of a Monday, lot to get to. We'll have more to get to. And we may jump on live at some point this week, open up the phone lines. You know how we do it. And so looking forward to doing that at some point this week. But in any event, that's going to do it for the Redskins Nightly News today. I'd love to hear your comments in the comment section. Anything that you want to talk about in particular, anything that I may have missed, love to hear it down in the comment section below. Looking forward to reading your comments. We'll have social media maneuvers tomorrow, so I will be scouring the comment section for great comments to see which ones I should read on the air. So looking forward to doing that. And I think Wednesday will be the target day to open up the phone lines and have a live Redskins Nightly News. We'll see if we do that later on in the week or not. Anyway, I'm your man, Louie T, signing off. Remember, if it's not your man T, it's not the best NFL coverage it could be. And also, remember, we've got skin in the game. Why? Because we're Skins fans for life. Redskins fall short to the Philadelphia Eagles, but a lot of good things were done. Dwayne Haskins even said that himself after the game. Look, we may have lost, but we did a lot of good things. And this was the thing, and I'll leave you with this, that he said in the post-game presser that I was most impressed with. He said, that should be an average game for me. I'm nowhere near where I want to be. That should be an average game for me. That's nowhere near my ceiling. I'm going to be much better, and I'm taking strides to get where I want to be, but I'm not there yet. That was an average game for me. When I get to where I'm supposed to be, that'll be an average game. I love it. Want more of it. And so I'll leave you guys with that. I'm out of here. This has been the Redskins Nightly News. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good one.
Louie T Network.